another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, I am pleased and proud to have in studio the one, the only, the Mr. Seafood himself, Mr. Andy Kaplinger in the house. What's up, big guy?
Just glad to be here. Looking forward to talking and sharing about what we do.
We're going to make this quick because that food looks good as hell. I see a lot of stuff, but before we get to the food, let's talk a little bit about you and your business. We talked quite a bit yesterday. Tell the viewers a little bit about who you are first.
So, born and raised right here in Indy. Grew up on the west side, went to Ben Davis, and just at the age of 13, I started working with my dad. We had a fish market out off of 56 and Emerson, and that was where it pretty much all started for me. It started back in the early mid-70s for my dad. He was with a grocery chain called Standard Grocery, and he started doing seafood for them, and you know, things just went from there. So I got to grow up in the business, and things went south with his business partner on that, and moved away, actually out east. We were in North Carolina in the Washington, D.C. area for a few years, and my wife came to me and said, hey, it's time to go ahead and go back home and start that dream that you always have had to do your own market. And so we're getting ready to start our 10th year.
Wow. When you say your dad, because that's usually where it starts at, your dad.
Yeah.
What did you notice about your dad that you decided that this is what you wanted to do? Because let's get real, you're in Indiana. Fish isn't abundant in White River or Geist Reservoir.
It's abundant, just not the kind that we want. Yeah.
So how did your dad get into this before you decided to take over?
It literally was one of those things that he was working. I don't know, he was probably a teenager, honestly. If I tried to do the math, I'm sure I could come up with it. But he was, like I said, with Standard Grocery. There were no seafood departments in any grocery stores in Indiana back then.
Wow.
And they came to him and they said, hey, we're looking for someone to start up a seafood department. And he said, hey, I'll do it. And, you know, from there, he ended up going on when O'Malley's Markets and Mr. D's supermarkets, when they were around, he started all their seafood programs, ended up getting into the wholesale end of the business, and from there started 56th Street Fish Market. And I was young.
Why wasn't there any fish here? I mean, why wasn't there demand? I mean, because I'm looking at it from our standards. I find that kind of like no fish in Indiana. Why did he ever tell you why there wasn't a?
There just wasn't a demand because you know, transportation was a huge thing, and you know, back in the days, fish and seafood in Indiana would have been, you know, Gordon's fish sticks.
Yeah,
and that's
now I like Gordon's fish sticks.
I'm not knocking them. They got their place, but you know, definitely what we do is it's not your Gordon's fish sticks.
Right.
And it's been, you know, I'm 44 years old now, so I've been doing this for 31 years, and it's been a process. You know, we've seen a lot of growth with like people's knowledge and mindset about seafood because of a lot of, you know, Food Network and a lot of the different cooking shows that have been on. People have learned a lot, and with, you know, airplanes and, you know, the willingness for restaurants and stuff to start bringing in different things, it's expanded people's horizons.
What did you have to bring to the table? Because your dad started this. So, and what did you bring to the table? Let me rephrase it. Not only what did you bring to the table, but what did you see needed to be changed?
Well, like I said, he ended up, 56th Street Fish Market ended up going out of business around 2005. We moved out. He ended up going, and he sold some more wholesale for a while. Ended up selling furniture and mattresses and stuff like that. And I always
say, Dad, what the hell?
Yeah, it's one of those deals. He can sell anything, you know. He's great at that. But you know, his thing has always been, we call him the cod father. You know, he's a fish guy, and he loves it. He knows it, and you know, having that niche was something that I was able to pick up on, because there's not a lot of folks, especially in the Midwest, that really know about good fresh seafood. And, you know, thankfully I had the blessing to grow up in that. You know, the other places that I've worked over the years, I was able to just gain a lot of knowledge.
When did you come to your father and say, because he said he wound up selling mattresses and so forth, but naturally his passion was this, and I know the times change. Who brought the idea of resurrecting this idea that your father started? Was it you?
Yeah.
What did he say when you came to him and said, hey, you know, I want to do this, Dad?
So stepping back just a number of years, like I said, I went to Ben Davis, and I was in a club called DECA.
I was in DECA.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Awesome. Usually nobody knows what it is. But so I was in DECA, and I did this, it was called the Entrepreneurship Participating Event. And again, you know, I'm like 15, 16 years old. I put together a business plan that was for a fresh fish market and restaurant. And I ended up winning state with it. Got to go to nationals. I didn't do anything at nationals, but
you got to go.
I won state with it. And so it's been something that's always been, even when I was working for my dad, it was something that I always wanted to do. And my wife has known that. We've been married 20 years, and it was actually on her birthday, which is December 31st.
Around the corner.
Yeah. We were in Asheville, North Carolina is where we were living at the time, and she said, you know, I think it's time for you to put that plan together and get going. And I knew a handful of people that I was going to call. My dad obviously being the first one.
So you already knew when you was there, this is really what you wanted to do.
It's what I always wanted to do.
So it wasn't so much of basically resurrecting your father's dream. You already wanted to do it prior to that. Your father had no indication at all.
No, I mean, because we lived, you know, many miles apart at the time, and it was one of those things that you know, when you're away from home we were gone, I think 6 years out of Indiana.
You're gone, yeah.
We're gone. I'm working at a place that I love working, and my wife loved it. We lived on top of a mountain. I mean, driving down that mountain every day, it was just like, oh Lord, I can't believe
there must be something wrong with me because I like flat hills. Somebody say, Trey, come live in a mountain. Too much on the truck for me. So you come back to Indianapolis with your wife. You take your father out to dinner and you say, look, I'm going to implement this business plan. What was his reaction?
Oh, he was on board, you know, immediately. He was excited about it, and, you know, he's been there, done that. So we just started immediately putting all the plans together. I put together a really nice business plan, and then go start, you know, looking at areas that we can do this, start talking to banks. And once you start talking to the banks and they're telling you, oh, this business plan is the best I've ever seen. No, we won't give you any money.
They always come with, so how did you get the money? Like, what was the toughest part of that struggle? If the bank tells you no, a lot of people just be like, I don't want to do it. But you kept going. So what was 3 of the toughest hurdles that you had to deal with now going into entrepreneurship before this even gets off the ground?
Well, you and I talked about this earlier about having skin in the game. And the banks want you to have a considerable amount of skin in the game if they're going to give you some money.
How much skin did you have?
My wife and I emptied out all of our 401k that we had, you know, and any kind of retirement funds. They're gone.
You really put your skin in the game, yeah.
Yeah. And so we did that.
Did your family question it? You know,
no.
Everybody was on board. Everybody was on board. Okay.
Everybody knew that this is what was supposed to happen. This is what should have always been.
Right.
You know, if it weren't for one person that was greedy, you know, with my dad and all of that stuff, we still would have been rocking out at 56th Street.
Right.
So it was something that there was never any wavering of support on from my family.
Why did you pick 56th Street as your first?
Well, I didn't pick 56. The 56 was where my dad's store was.
Okay.
But we did, when we went to look again, we looked in that area. I actually looked at the exact spot. Mm-hmm. But we ended up, we were going to be off of, I think it was 62nd and Keystone.
That's not a bad
We were
area.
no, it was right next to Some Guy's Pizza, which is very well known here in Indy. And
Is it still there?
mm,
I think it got tore down.
are you kidding me?
I'm dead serious.
Oh no,
It's not there no more.
Oh well,
Yeah.
obviously I didn't do my part. But anyway, we were looking at that center. We were 2 weeks from starting construction, and the owner of that center comes back and completely pulls the rug out from under us. I'm like,
What?
oh, I think you need to do that. Starting to tell us how we were going to do things, how we needed to change it so we could be successful. It's like, no, that's
You
not.
mean the
that's-
layout, the construction of the interior of the
they
building?
were straight up telling us like that we were not. They weren't gonna be part of it if we were gonna do like the cooking aspect of things
Oh.
in the market, and it just we'd already signed up. Everything was pretty much done, and thank the Lord though that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because we ended up finding a spot out off of 75th and Shadeland. That's our OG spot, and
Okay.
that's where we ended up opening up. It was something we were able to go in. I didn't hardly have to put any like a lot. I didn't have to put a lot of money in the construction aspect of it. You know, we had lime green ceiling tiles and stuff, so we had to do some painting and stuff. But the drains, the plumbing lines, most everything was right where we would be able to make it work.
That was a
So,
universal blessing. You know that, right?
that was huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
God was watching out for us there.
When you start this journey, and me and you talked about this, what's the most difficult part about being successful in the food in the fish industry? Because I usually go to Maryland to get my fish, you know, and it's freshly caught, it's there, but we're not in Indiana. We talked about companies like the Montgomery Inn that was in
Yeah.
Cincinnati. They came here with a concept of bringing fresh food in, and that didn't work out. You guys been in business for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, what was the hardest part about addressing your concerns, and what were the concerns going into it?
Well, I think having vendors that you can trust, and having a system set up to limit your waste. You know, because seafood is obviously highly perishable, so you have to. Our vendors were able to order from every single day, so we're able to order in smaller quantities, and just replenish as needed instead of having to sit on a bunch of product. And so that's a huge thing. It's still, you still have waste.
Does demographics play a key role in you ordering for specific areas? Because naturally,
Absolutely.
you don't get escargot here, and all that kind of stuff. So, what's the demographics? How does demographic play a part in you stocking for the Indiana regions?
Yeah, escargot is actually something that we
Oh, you
can
do
get.
care?
I mean, I always tell people if it swims or
You
if
can
it
get
comes
it.
anywhere close to the water, we can get it.
Okay.
So it's really, that's the cool part, and that's what I love about seafood, is that there's so many different things out there. I mean, there's different, shrimp don't taste anything like the perch.
Right.
And you can get in, like, I brought in some paddlefish that I've got from my buddy down in
What's
southern
paddlefish?
Indiana.
What's paddlefish?
Paddlefish is it's one of those like prehistoric looking fish. It's actually, another name is spoonbill, but they're a freshwater fish, and they've got this great big paddle on the front of their mouth, and they use that, and they just sort of they mess the water up and the mud on the bottom and stuff, just to stir up little fish or
Right.
different things that they're able to eat. But it's they're really amazing eating fish. I'd never even had them a year ago. And,
How do you get introduced to all these fish that you're bringing into your restaurant? You
It's,
got to try it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and obviously I've tried a little bit myself. But it can be through all different forms. A lot of times I'll have vendors that bring in products for us to sample. That's how we've got, a lot of these newer items are just through sampling. But like the paddlefish, for one, that's something that we bought some land down in southern Indiana. It's 28 acres. It's got 20 ponds on it. We start trying to raise our own catfish and tilapia. I've got some trout and walleye coming in that we're looking at hopefully putting the ponds within the next week or so.
Can you put all these fish in the same pond and they can thrive in that environment together?
We're gonna work on some different things. Like I've got our main pond that's in the best condition is for our channel catfish, and they need a lot of room, and we've got like 2,000-3,000 fish in that pond. But what we're gonna be working on is trying to introduce cages.
Okay.
So like the walleye and the trout that we're bringing in, we're gonna put those in cages so they're not able to go out and get eaten by the bigger catfish and stuff in the pond, because that's definitely that would be a huge concern. They would.
How big does the pond actually? How big does the fishery have to really be to be productive for you and your future?
I don't know. It's one of those
catfish. I heard catfish can grow pretty big. I mean, I've seen people in Kentucky getting in there and they're sticking their hand, and the whole catfish is bigger than their hand.
I just brought up some that we had in one of our ponds. My buddy that I met down there, David Cox, he's known as the Caviar King. He is a commercial fisherman on the Ohio River. He brought in and put it in one of our ponds, not one that had fish that we stocked in it, because these fish that he put in would have decimated everything. But I had 40, 50, 60 pound plus catfish that he put in this pond. And we just harvested some, and I'm selling them in the stores right now. And so we don't let them get to be that big on the ones that we're stocking, because that would just take forever to grow. Is there
really a difference in quality? You know, we hear people saying grain-fed, farm, stress-free. Is there a difference? Because you're dealing with different vendors. How do you know the best quality for yourself and your customers?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
you weren't expecting me to ask that question.
That's the one that sets us apart from most everybody else, is the quality aspect of things. And the quality, like you said, it's going to come in so many different forms.
Right.
You can take tilapia for one. Like, tilapia was a huge fish back in the 90s is when it was introduced, and it was really a phenomenal fish. You know, a lot of the tilapia farms were in rainforests down in South America, coming out of this pristine water. Well, you could also take tilapia and you could raise it in a nasty, disgusting mud puddle. They'll handle pretty much any conditions.
Is that why people are now saying don't eat tilapia? Because
there's some absolute garbage. Most of it is garbage out there, because it's a commodity-driven market on a lot of those fish.
Right.
Tilapia got the short end of the stick on that one, because there's so much product that is being produced in just disgusting conditions. Mm-hmm. There's still all of those that are doing it right, though, that put out a great product. But guess what? When do you ever hear about those? You know, you hear about the ones that are doing things wrong, the ones that end up on the news, you know, for some huge fish kill or something like that.
How much research do you put into your vendors, as far as somebody just coming to you with, here's shrimp for 10 cents a pound? Like, how much do you investigate your vendors and their quality of service?
So my main vendors, I've known for decades.
Okay.
And that's unfortunately not something most people are going to get the advantage of. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Greg Scottnicky at Fortune Gourmet, he was, I've known him since I was a kid. And, you know, Steve Boo out at Piazza, I've known him. He and I worked together when I was working at a local wholesaler here. They're friends. They're not just vendors, because we've known each other so long. So that trust factor.
And they got stake in the game too, because
absolutely.
Yeah. And you mentioned that we talked about that stake in the game.
And we know our product. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of places, you know, if you go to a lot of your grocery stores and stuff, I mean, and I'm not saying that there's not some good ones out there. I'm not saying that. But most of the people, I mean, how much real legitimate seafood knowledge is really going to be back behind that counter to be able to back up, you know.
How many years is it in this? Start with your dad. Start with your dad.
Oh, gosh.
And now that's almost 80 years of seafood knowledge.
Yeah. And we've got.
And we're not talking about your sister. She got a little bit of stake in the game. So that's a lot of knowledge in this industry. We talked about something that's really has shaken the whole world. COVID.
Yes.
Businesses collapsing and going down, and people having to rebrand and reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
You didn't rebrand. You actually went back and try to make a product even more better. But also, what I like that you talked about was you took in consideration generational wealth, not only for your family but other generations of people that work for you, and the fact that you put yourself into people's situations who had to suffer. Like we talked about a friend that I knew that worked at a particular restaurant. I won't mention the name, and it was $20 for a hamburger and French fries. But you dealt with these things. These issues were brought to you. You took a hands-on approach. Tell the viewers how you did that and what did you do. Was that too many questions at once?
Maybe. My brain's not working like it used to. I would say, we've always tried to be fair. I want people to treat me the same way. I want to treat people the same way that I want to be treated.
Right.
And I know that you can't make everybody happy all the time, but we do our best to do that. And we try and be fair about it. It's been tough. You and I talked about it. This year, it's gotten scary.
Yeah.
Coming out of all the woes in the economy and those different aspects of things, we've had to, raise prices, and we lose customers when that happens. It's not that we're losing a customer that doesn't want to be there. We're losing a customer that just can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this balance, and I don't sometimes even know where that balance is. It's been really hard to find this year because we got to keep our doors open, and we're being as fair as we can be, while keeping the doors open. And, we're never going to sacrifice our quality. That's the one thing that I always want our customers to know, is that, you've seen a lot of places that they might not have gone through as many price increases, but instead of sticking with the same size side dish that you got, it's half the size.
Yeah.
Or instead of buying, a domestic or Canadian ocean perch like what we have, they're buying something that's processed down in China, and they're saving a third of the price or more off of what it is that I'm buying.
What was the one thing during the COVID that scared you and your whole family? You guys have stake in the game.
Yeah.
And people don't understand when you say stake in the game, that's money.
Yeah.
Money, time. What was the one thing? COVID scared everybody. What part of COVID scared you? Scared your family?
Honestly, just the inability. Obviously, there's nothing you can do if the government's going to shut businesses down. That's going to just be what it is. But thankfully, we were not in that category. We adapted, but even through that adaptation with doing a lot more carry-out business, we still had tons of times where I thought we were going to have to shut stores down just because of staffing, because one, the fear that people had, I don't want to go out and be around a bunch of people, which pretty well founded. And then also some people they did get COVID, and, then they're out for so long, and you only have so many people that can do that job, and come in and do it. So, it was more scary on the staffing and all of that standpoint, just to be able to keep things going.
Speaking of staffing, you said yesterday, and I love that, my hat's off to you, how you're allowing individuals to have a piece of your family legacy. Explain that and why you came up with that idea.
Yeah, there's some selfishness about it, but also at the same time, it's a good, I hope a very good thing for, my others, friends that are involved in it. But I've been trying to get rid of more and more headaches, and I say headaches, it's not necessarily headaches as much as it is just the inability to be able to carry so much on your shoulders.
You don't want to wear all the hats.
Right.
if you don't have to.
Right. And I've got Aloy Montecatl. He'd been with us for many years. He led our entire team that does all the sides and stuff. And there was an opportunity that came up for us to actually be able to get this bus that was out off the northwest side and branded as a Kaplinger, sort of have a mobile unit, but also have a place where it could just stay. And I looked and I thought, man, this is nice and all this would be great, but it's just I don't have the ability. And I went to Aloy and I said, hey, here's an opportunity. And I'm thinking, if he gets this opportunity, he's done. He's gonna start his own thing. Well, long story short, he came to me and I knew that he was going to move forward with it. And he said, I want to start a Kaplingers. And I mean,
how did it make you feel?
I mean, it almost made me cry because it's like you've started something. One, our customers, they pay for product that we've put together. Like that's huge. But now I got somebody that wants to start a business, like our business, with their with their hard work and with all of the stuff that they put in. And so, I mean, it makes you feel really good, and he bought it, he started that, and ended up doing so good. I said, hey, we got Pendleton Pike spot out here. How would you like to take that over? And he's done it. He's doing a great job. And I've got Anthony Murray, who Tony and I, we've known each other. He's known me since I was a little kid. His dad was one of my dad's very first wholesale customers, and all these people are like family to us, even though they're not blood. But Tony, I'm actually, hopefully, this week going to have him sign off on taking over our amp location.
Man, that is like totally great. You got to feel like totally proud to not only provide good, wholesome, delicious food for the individuals, but you're also helping them grow financially, independently, entrepreneurship at its finest. Before we wrap up, who comes up with the secret recipes for all this? I know the Colonel Sanders got his. You know what's the Kaplinger's secret recipe? Like, who came up with this?
Well, it's been a blend, I would say, as is everything.
Did you try it out before it goes out on the?
I've come up with a lot. A lot of the stuff is coming from me, but our collard greens, Tony had a huge part in that. It's really a blend of all of us. I've come up with a lot of things,
Which one did you come up with that nobody else has?
Our lobster rolls, seafood Philly melt, our breading is something that I've worked on. Me and my dad got together on our buns. We worked with local bakers. They do those. Those buns are proprietary just for us. And the sauces, my dad, it's his original tartar sauce and cocktail sauce recipe. Our remoulade sauce is something I put together. But it's really been a
What's your number one seller? Everybody buys them when they walk in there.
Our Kaplinger special, which is made with fish called basa or swai, and it's by far our biggest seller.
What is basa? What is basa?
It's actually in the catfish family.
Okay.
But it doesn't eat quite like catfish, and you're talking to somebody that loves catfish.
Who doesn't?
But, yeah. But it's a super mild fish. It's got a nice clean flavor. It's not as fatty as what catfish, our U.S. catfish typically is.
You've been through a lot. You're young. I like the way that you kept your family's dream alive. I like the way that you kept that beast frame of mind and played your success onto your employees, the beautiful state of Indiana, my home. How can the viewers reach you guys?
Well, we've got 5 locations all around central Indiana. You can check that out, KaplingersFreshCatch.com. We've got all the different locations there. We're on social media and all of the different spots, so you can find us on pretty much any of those platforms. I'm still working on learning some of those, but I'm growing. But yeah, you know, coming in, our Shadeland store and our South Meridian Street store are the two that have a fish market and restaurant.
When you say that, what does that mean to the viewers?
So you can come in, and we've got cases filled with fish and, you know, all kinds of shellfish.
So you can come and get fresh,
Yes.
knowledgeable, fresh fish to take home and prepare
Yes.
yourself. And get the Kaplingers, 7 herbs and spices packages.
You can buy the breading. We've got and that is our own breading. That is our own blend.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get all the stuff to make it work. And we've got it, and we've got the people that are behind the counter that know what they're talking about that can help guide you too, because that is a big thing with seafood is to prepare it right.
Andrew, leave the viewers with something positive, that beast frame of mind attitude that you and your family live with every single day.
You know, what I would say is you just have to keep moving forward. There's a lot of times where, you know, on that roller coaster ride when you're down on that dip, and it's going to take an awful lot to get up that hill, and you don't know if you got it, but you just got to keep on chugging and put one step in front of the other, and you're going to get up that hill. It might suck on the way up, but when you get up there, it's well worth it. So just keep on moving, keep on trying.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.